Hello, everybody. Joe the lawyer here, and we're doing it live today. It is Friday. It is 1 p.m. 1:02 p.m. I am 2 minutes late. My deepest apologies. And yet we have 6 people here. You didn't give up, mommy. Thank you all. So I figured, what the hell? I do it live. You guys like when I mix it up a little bit. So, hey, I'm here to please. It's my job. All right, guys. So today we're going over back to the How to Be an Awesome GM series, and we're talking about session 0. Good evening, Alexander. Good evening, Daniel, or good afternoon, Daniel. I'm not sure forget where you're from, Daniel, but I think it's afternoon where you're at still. So, hello, Eric, Adult Dubert. We're all here. Gang's all here. Oh, we're down to 4 people. Everybody left. I guess they didn't like my voice. Anyway, session 0, guys. All right, that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I'm fully caffeinated, and yet I'm going to get some more caffeine in me right now. Good coffee. All right, cool. So, session 0 is important. It's where you assemble like the Avengers. You meet each other and you talk about the game. It's where many campaigns are made or many campaigns are broken before they even start. All right, the first consideration for session 0 is the time, date, and location. Where are you going to meet? When are you going to meet? Okay. You let everybody know ahead of time. It's going to take a few hours so that they can schedule accordingly. And here's a couple of things. If you're playing with kids, you want to meet somewhere without distractions. Kids have lack of attention span enough as it is. You want to meet somewhere where you could limit their cell phone use and concentrate on what's going on. So find a place like a library or a game store on a quiet day, or even better, really, is to meet where you're going to be playing most of the time. Set up tables and chairs like you'll have them set up on a game night. Let everyone take a seat. Let them all get comfortable. Put them in their positions, And I bet you that just like in grade school, the seat they choose then that first time they get together at your game table is probably going to be the seat they use for the rest of the whole campaign. If you're adults, I suggest getting together at some quiet bar or pub, maybe even a diner. If it's a slow time of the day, you can sit in the back corner and chat about everything. Make sure everybody brings with them to let them know they need their character sheets, pencils, pen, paper, and dice. If you're going to do this online, then you're stuck with the format. So it's not as good as in person for bonding, but it's what you have to deal with. Okay. Session 0. Cool. Thorstein Rafnar. That's a Viking sounding name if I ever heard one. On their thrones. Yes. All right. Oh, actually, yes. Right. So we're doing it live. I could show the comments as we go here. That's cool. Cool. All right. So back to it. Now that everyone's there, the bonding begins. Everybody for like the first half hour, just hang out, bullshit, talk. Hopefully some food and drink is involved. Nothing bonds people like sharing a meal together. If you're doing it at home, the library, or a game store, you as the GM ought to order a pizza or bring some sodas, things like that. A snack, something at least. If we're at a bar, buy a round of drinks for everyone to start it off. For the next half hour, just hang out, talk, have a good time, getting to know each other. It's like you're on a big group date. Then you get down to business. The first order of business after you buy another round, of course, is to thank everyone for coming and be excited, guys. This is the beginning of a new campaign. You put a lot of work into it. You prepped your ass off for it, and you finally found what you think might be a perfect group to game with for years and years and years as the campaign progresses. So you ought to be excited. And while you're in this excited state of mind, lay out your vision for the campaign. And now keep in mind that everything I'm going to describe below, while you're doing all this and talking about this, pause frequently for questions, concerns, make sure they understand everything. You don't want to come across as a dick or a dictator. If they have concerns, you need to address them. Help them figure out your game and everything that's expected from both sides so there's no confusing later. But you also need to have your firm lines that you draw in the sand. Things that matter to you, do not change them for the players at all. You'll be miserable. Your misery is going to bleed over into the game. They'll be miserable, and the game will end up being a miserable failure. I'd rather not run a game than run a game where I'm miserable the whole damn time because I compromised on the game I wanted to run. Okay. It is a Viking name, huh? It does sound like a badass name, I gotta say. All right, so start off by telling them what sort of campaign it's going to be. What's the style? Is it gonzo, heroic, gritty? Is it a sandbox or some kind of adventure path? How long do you expect the campaign to run? Are you doing a homebrew setting, homebrew rules, something published, or some mix of all that? You should let them know if combat's going to be theater of the mind or whether you're going to use grids and minis. In my case, I would ask if anyone is offended or triggered by anything. Let them know it's going to be in that game, most likely, and that probably this isn't the game for them, but they're welcome to stay. There's no need to leave. Who knows? Maybe they'll warm to the game and to me as a GM or the players as they hear more about it. Another thing I'll do is go over backstories. I let them know how much backstories matter, as in not at all. Okay. They, for me, and excuse me, I got to fix a typo as I go here. Perfect. Let them know how much they matter. They don't matter to me at all. I tell them they're a nobody from nowhere because think about it. How can you possibly create a backstory when you know nothing about my world? It's kind of presumptuous, don't you think? Also, my point of view is that the story of your PC begins at the first time you play. They write their story with dice and role playing. That was some short story before they even roll up the PC. Lastly, I'm going to go over how I view and counterbalance. That sometimes you just have to run your ass off. There's no expectation of winning everything. It's easiest to do this within the context of going over Matt Finch's old school primer. Now, if everyone's still on board, and if they haven't scared them away yet, figure out the time and dates that are best to meet for a regular game night. Figure out how long each session is going to go, how often you're going to meet. You also need to decide if you all eat together or not and the rules around food. Bring for yourself or share. It's also when you address if there's going to be booze or the wacky weed allowed in your game at the table and expectations around that. Like, don't get shit faced, don't fuck up, don't be a dick around, don't overdo it basically. Figure out, the breaks. Are you going to stop to eat? No eating at all. Eat whenever you feel like it. It's up to you as the GM, but you do need to set it up ahead of time in a way that it won't mess up the flow of your game, because your game is what matters here. You don't want to screw up the game for everybody. You know what messes up your flow. All right. Lastly, really important, go over cell phone use at the table and whether you're going to allow electronic devices like laptops and iPads and all that. If I'm in person, I want pen and paper, character sheets, dice rolled at the table, completely old school style, 80s style. Let's see who was saying, climbing the mountain, what's up? Decado 1628 is here. There's only Joe. Thanks, man. All right. So, excuse me. Next, you go over the rule set as well as any house rules. There's always house rules, right? Make sure they understand everything, including what classes and races they could play in your world. In my first few minutes, I've already explained that my campaign is setting first, and that setting drives everything. Therefore, restrictions on classes and races should flow easily from that conversation. Next, go over your expectations for them as players and for their PCs. Two different expectations. This is where you go over promptness, showing up every session, how to let everyone know if there's going to be an issue, if you can't make it or not, how you're going to communicate too. Is it text? Is it emails? That sort of thing. All right. How to communicate, because I just figured that out and I didn't have it in there. So I'm typing as we go here, guys. This is good stuff. You need to let them know your expectations regarding staying in character or not. Some people love to stay in character all the time. Some hardly do it at all. You need to talk to them to figure out how far they're comfortable going with it as a group and figure out some sort of happy medium. They also need to know how evil you're willing to let the PCs get. I'm not willing to run a campaign with murder hobos or straight up evil PCs doing bad things to people. I just don't want to put that out into the world in any way. So while the game I run is not heroic, it's certainly not evil. It's more in line with Conan or Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser than Lord of the Rings. It's more swords and sorcery than high epic fantasy. Okay, let's see. And no one of consequence says I'm okay with a 2 to 3 sentence backstory, but that's it. Mainly, what motivated the character? Yeah, basically, what motivated you to become an adventurer? Why here? Takato agrees. I agree totally. Next, you need to explain how you're going to handle issues that come up at the table, from disputes over rulings you make to arguments about out of character sessions. One important thing to cover is missing players. Will the game go on or not? And I've gone over this, how to handle this situation in other sections of the video series and the DMG. That's where you basically have a handful of side quests that happen out of time that you could just play, and people gain XP there and then come back and they have the XP, and it was just sort of a parallel universe experience. That way you're not just canceling the game because a couple people can't make it. The people that made it, give them some fun. Okay. Now, I always have hard copies of my house rules for the players, and I make sure they have a player's handbook at least. Some won't buy a player's handbook for financial reasons, and they want to have it on electronic devices. In that case, I'm literally buying them a player's handbook rather than have to deal with electronic device at my table because they're too damn distracting. I've done that before. I bought a handful of copies of the fifth edition PHB and I donated it to a local library I was playing in back in the day. And that the players forgot it or didn't have one, they could always grab one downstairs and return it to the library afterwards. All right. I also will have printed out Matt Finch's old school primer, the revised version from his new Swords and Wizardry books that he just published. I'm going to hand them out as well, so they get the vibe of an old school game. All right. I'm also going to have prepared later on a booklet with all the knowledge the PCs would have about the game setting based on where they're from. Okay. That's something I'm going to give them after the session 0. I'm going to bring character sheets. I'm going to bring dice and pencils in case anybody forgot them, because now it's that magical time when you get to roll up the PCs. I want everybody to roll in person, one PC at a time. You're not all rolling at the same time, because I like to watch everybody dice rolls, not because I don't trust them, they're cheating this and that. It's because I want to make fun of them, because everybody sucks. You roll up a guy, and it's like, oh, son of a bitch, I got like a 6 on something. You got to deal with it, man. That's how it goes. And we could always make fun of everybody who rolls like Tim Shorts, essentially. Nothing bonds as well as breaking each other's balls over bad dice rolls. So you may as well get that in early on and soak on up that bonding. Lastly, what you want to do is have a combat. Give them a test run. Just, anything. Throw a monster. Make it challenging, but also make it something they can win. There's nothing like kicking ass together to seal the deal on group cohesion. After their victory, it's time for another round of shots on you, of course. Now, before you leave, let them know that you're going to be preparing a write-up for each of their PCs, which will contain what they know about the campaign world, about their race, their class, things like that, where they're from and all that. And, tell them, okay, you're all going to be meeting at this sort of starting town, but before you get to that starting town, you're going to experience some things, whether you're from your own village, or maybe you're from that starting town, or maybe you're came in as a caravan guard or something like that. And there's going to be one-on-one adventure that you as the GM are going to have with them. It may last 1 session, may last 2. It's going to get some interesting background experiences. It's instead of them writing a short story about themselves, it's going to give them some XP, maybe some gear, maybe some clues, maybe some plot hooks, things like that. Going to have some relationships they can build and all that sort of thing. I'm going to go into this way more in depth coming up, and I'm also going to like I said, write up something for them that gives them some knowledge about the world. That will be the subject of the next video. What goes into that thing? All right. And then the video after that's going to be about session 0.5, which is that one-on-ones thing that you're going to do with them. Okay. So that's it. That is my session 0. Started with a drink, ended with a drink. That's pretty much what I do. Let's see. So let's see. I'll go over the fancy happy code words of the day later on, but let's see what you guys are talking about here on the 15 minutes here. As a DM, I've done as much as 47 pages of backstory for a character. Good God. Holy crap. You've written 47 pages of backstory for a character as a DM, or you've gotten that from a player? No one of consequence says, same here. I have no interest in DMing an evil campaign. Yeah, it's just not fun. It feels like it stains your soul in some way, putting that vibe out into the world. The game I'm playing now, says Daniel, is fully phone based because it's run through D&D Beyond. It's not my preference, but I get the reason for playing with kids, so I have to meet them where they are. Man, I get what you're saying, but I'm still making them do dice and pen and paper. I'm still making it happen. If they don't want to do it, then it's not the game for them. Takato says, same, not a fan of running a game for evil PCs. I tend to be a classic good versus evil GM. Yeah, that's respectable. That's respectable. You got to have your standards and hold the line. Orcs demand equity, apparently, says I was raised a poor orc child. Alexander says, I agree. Idea backstory happening before session may not fit the world and tone of the campaign and create charism. I'm not sure what that word is. Like a level 3 character who fought gods. It was a god. Yeah, exactly. Like I've seen backstories that were so freaking long that it's like, okay, you're already 20th level now, retire. Because you've done everything, been everywhere, know everybody. It's retarded. Okay. Let's see. Takato says it was great going from 5e to Castles and Crusades. No more D&DB and far less electronics at the table. Oh, D&D Beyond. Yeah. Some of my players years ago were doing that. I didn't know what the hell it was, and it was early 5e. I just started learning it, and Like, I didn't even know they kept talking about Critical Role. I had no idea what the hell Critical Role was. Everyone's mentioned, oh, just see Critical. I'm like, well, dude, what are you talking about? What's Critical Role shit? They looked at me like I was like from outer space. Like, what the hell rock did I crawl out from under? Since I've been buried since 1984 under, you know. But they showed it to me and this and that. And I watched a couple and I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is cringe is beyond belief, you know. Let's see. Decado says, yeah, great, yeah, leaving D&D be behind. Eric says, I let a player do more or less whatever they want to do at a point by system and get a gist of what they want their backstory to be. But the backstory is proprietary of the DM. Agreed. Alexander says, but be fair, most D&D's milquetoast fantasy land, so most characters can be put anywhere. That's true, unless they get something like, if they're going to say I grew up in the city, my mother and father were blah blah blah, you know, they're son of poor farmers. In other words, all I want them to do is, you could say stuff like that, you know, from a city, from a village, and I'll figure out the city or the village. You could say you have or don't have relatives somewhere, and that's fine. We can mix it in. That way you're not, you know, this poor orphan out there just with no connections to anybody or anything, and I'll work that in. What I won't have is anything that makes them special in any way. That's the key to it. You're not special. You never will be unless you do something with the dice and with role playing, you know, from once you start gaining XP, that's when you become special. You're not special in any way, shape, or form. You don't have a destiny. You don't have special connections. You don't have, you're not the long lost son of the king. You know, none of that shit. And that's what most people want to do. It's the biggest problem with backstories I've seen is that they want to be special before you even start. I think it's like this trophy just for showing up kind of mentality that, you know, people are brought up with these days, you know. Let's see. No one of consequence says, I also dislike overly mercenary behavior from the characters where when they're asked for help, their first question is, how much are you willing to pay us? Good deed should be their own reward. I don't mind that. I mean, to me, that's not evil. That's just neutral behavior, right? That's more along the lines of swords and sorcery. That's more gritty. I don't mind that. I just don't want them to walk into a village that needs help and, you know, I'll offer you, you know, 1,000 gold pieces if you fight them and kill them. And the PCs go up and say, well, I'm just going to kill you, take the 1,000 gold piece and, you know, kiss my ass. That's what I don't want, right? Eric says it's up to the players, but even that can be made to haunt players. Yeah. Alexander says, no one of consequence. I actually dislike morally white characters. For me, most interesting characters are those with strong ambition and goals. Yeah. I like characters should have a drive, not just like I'm out here to do good in the world. It is kind of like one dimensional, just like evil nemesis type villains with the, you know, twirling their mustache, laughing. Ha, ha, ha. That's just one dimensional too. So are most paladins, right? And so are most lawful goody two shoes kind of PC groups. Online dice rollers are the devil. Agreed, unless you're playing on Roll20, in which case you're kind of stuck with it. But I've played games in Roll20 where everybody just rolled their dice at the table and you just trust them. That's an option too if you want. I mean, you got to trust your players, not to be fucking around. I know that some players back in the day would just lie. Nobody rolls that many goddamn 20s, you know, nobody. It's just a lie. So, and those are the ones you don't want to play with. Some of the flail snails people were like that. Curiosium is a weird thing or a freak in terms of a person. All right. I just never heard that word before. It's interesting. Alexander says, I personally don't like Critical Role. It lacks for me player energy like drive. Yeah, they're just putting on a show. That's all a Critical Role is. They're just putting on a show. Doc Flamingo, hey all. What's up, Doc? But I have +5 Vorpal sword through my inheritance. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to get at, you know. But I inherited this thing. It's mine. Why? Who says? Me. Okay, well, what if that thing doesn't even exist in my world? Well, why not? It says so in the book. Well, it's my game. You know, the hell with the book. And in my case, it's going to be my book in my game that I wrote. So I know what's in there, right? At least the next game I run is going to be like that. Let's see. I just don't like the completely mercenary vibe. Like they need to shake down the church of 50 gold pieces. And the players know they're going to get loot anyway. I don't mind it. I mean, I don't mind if that fits the group. If they're neutral or like that's fine. That's fine. Poor fine. My ancestor took it from a human corpse in a tomb. Yeah. If you kill the zombie that's guarding that sword, that's your sword. No problem. We switched rolling actual dice and we're on Roll20. That's fine. Yeah, Dakota, we did it for a while. It's just a matter of if you trust the group, right? That's really what it comes down to. Wear those dice out. Says I was, my old dice are worn out, man. They're so rounded. The original ones that came in my base of my Back Me box set, like they'll roll forever. It's almost like marble length, not Marvel, marble length. So yeah. Um, let's see. Your special characters are boring, but when I said most characters can be put anywhere, I meant about edge lords or former gods. I'm not sure what you mean there, Alexander, but I don't like playing with edge lords and uh, people who are former gods who are now first level PCs. Yeah, it doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense either. So, guys? What do you think of the whole video series so far? I'm just kind of curious. This is like my 33rd video or something like that. So what do you think? I'm doing all right so far. Anything else you might want to throw in there? Anything I missed? How do you like the style? Would you rather have me do these in person if I can, like today, where I'm able to work from home and get this out in person, or would you rather have me do it with a recorded video, where you just comment in the comment section and I'm there with you watching it from on my lunch break? So just kind of curious. What do you think? Yeah, Gothridge Manor says, "Oh, glad I'm working hard today." Yep. Hey, it's my lunch half hour, man. I got lunch from 1 to 1:30, so this is it. That's why I figured I'd do it live. Doing it live. I still have shits to draw. Oh yeah, the old shits from the Holmes box set, right? I don't trust computer dice. I've heard that computer dice rolling can be skewed. At least that's what Tim says, that he blames the computer dice, that he never rolls that bad in real life, but I've seen him roll in real life too. So yeah. Still my original Holmes box set. The D20 is pretty much more smooth. Yeah, that little blue one. Yep. That I had to fill in with a crayon there. It's good for a human, says I was raised a poor child. The Viking amongst us, Rafnar, says, depending on the church, I know it's just an example, but a party with a cleric of a rival god would be fine. Shaking down their shoulders. Exactly. The follower of that same god would have severe consequences. Perfectly said. Yeah, if that's your god, you're not getting payment for it, Eric says, I love the coffee house conversation vibe. Just like this. All right, cool. I'll do this when I can then. I'll do it live when I can, guys. Yeah. Chits were in other games earlier. Hey, it's true. Quantum dice my ass. Man, true, my ass. You just can't roll for shit, dude. Sometimes there was sometimes Tim rolled so low on a D20. I asked him if he was rolling D4s, if he just messed up the dice or something. Doing great live or Memorex is just fine. Depends on how far OT you're willing to get. Off topic. Yeah. What I'm gonna try to do if I ever do it like live like this, and I gotta go in a couple minutes, guys, get back to work. But I'll do the video comment like I did today. But I'm gonna make sure I get the video out what I want to say, and then we'll bullshit afterwards. Lives are great. Yeah, and I got like 20-some people on lives. It's pretty cool. All right, live vibe is good, says Tim. All right, live vibe is cool. Computers can't do anything randomly. The randomizer is generally based off the clock, using hundreds or thousands of a second. Yeah, that's what I've heard from my computer geek friend. So I don't know. I'm not sure if I don't know how it works, but he's a geek, so I trust him. Alexander and says the no one of consequence. I see your point, but I think it's just a matter of taste. Player characters might risk their life. Better risk your life for gold and glory. Well, a little bit of each helps too. Yep, doctor, percentages of any number are off a bit. Yeah, that's what I've heard. That is never actually randomized, and at some numbers, because of the way it works, just hardly ever come up. It's not random. Like your old D20 computer randomizer, 1,000 times. You're not going to get an equal instance of each of them for some reason with computerized randomizers. That's just my understanding of it. I'm not sure though. But yeah. All right, guys. So this video, this is kind of cool. I like it. I like the live thing too. And by the way, so before we go. Live video tomorrow, Saturday. All right. I'm not sure because my family's coming up. We got basketball game to go to, this and that. I'm thinking it's probably going to be around 2:00, but I'll put up the link as soon as I know more about the time frames and all that. But it's probably going to be a 2 p.m. video for live, my Saturday live stream. My Sunday video that you're going to get is going to be another review. It's going to be all about Keep on the Borderlands. And I'm going to figure my first few videos are going to be about my starting videos for reviews are all going to be about starting adventures. So I'm going to do what I've already done was the Village of Hamlet. Keep on the Borderlands is the one for Sunday. And then after that one, the following Sunday is going to be the Lost Mines of Phandelver, the Village of Hamlet one. So I figured I'll get 3 big ones out there, 3 big starting adventures out there. Then I'll jump into other things. Okay. And then let's see. I think that's pretty much all I wanted to cover, guys, except the fancy magic words of the day. All right. So everybody who wants to comment for the algorithm for today. My friend Lauren, who works with me, she is supposed to be watching this, but she betrayed me because there's a pizza party at work. So everybody, if you want to comment for the algorithm for me, and just so I could bust her balls, whatever, I could bust her balls about it. I want everybody who's commenting to do me a favor and say Lauren betrayed Joe for pizza. All right. So Lauren betrayed Joe for pizza. Put that in the comment section, and I will point out all the instances where people are calling her out for betraying me for pizza. All right. So have a good day, Tim. All right. Have a good day, everybody. All right. And it was great to talk to you guys. I got to jump back to work now, and it was awesome. I'm going to do this more often. I like the live streams too. I like the interaction. It's fun. It's fun. And in live streams, you guys get to send me $1 million super chats. So feel free to send all those $1 million super chats my way. All right. Have a good one, everybody. Take it easy, everyone. Lauren betrayed Joe for pizza. That's it, Jason. You got it. Lauren betrayed Joe for pizza. Bye-bye.